Hey, what's up guys? I'm gonna dive right into this conversation about how many rod and reel setups that you need to be a successful fisherman. So if this is, a question that you ask yourself a lot, stay tuned. So first things first, we are not out in the garage, we're not in the boat, we're not on the water, we are in, I call the beat laboratory. That is right. This is where all the magic happens, the video editing, computer work that you are seeing right now gets edited right behind me. But for time's sake, and it's getting cold here in Ohio, I decided to film the video right here because a lot of it's going to be basically just having this conversation with you guys about my experiences with the rod combos and what I think personally one can get by with and what I think would be best for you guys. So first things first, we're going to talk about these rod and reel setups. How many do you need? Why do you need them? Do you have to have them? And for me personally, I'm gonna kind of take a step back and kind of go through my experiences with this. Right now, I'm a professional angler on the Bassmaster Elite Series, so I have upwards of 50 plus rod and reel combos, and that's not bragging. This is simply the fact of the matter of doing my job, and any professional angler is gonna have a lot of rod and reel setups, and it's no different than a carpenter, right? A big construction business that has to get a lot of projects done. They want to build a home in a week. Well, if they have the supplies there and they have all the workers there, they have a ton of tools on hand to get that job completed in a week's time or 2 weeks, right? They can knock that out. Now, could you build a house with one person, one carpenter? Absolutely. That guy may only have a couple tools. Can he still build the house? Absolutely. It's going to take him a lot longer to do, but he can still build the house. And that's what we have for rods and reels. Those are our tools. Us anglers, those are our tools. Each one has a specific purpose and reason for being on the deck of our boat. It all has a reason to be there. So for us professionals, the biggest thing against us is time. We have to have, everything going correctly to save us the most amount of time. And having the right tools on hand at all times, it makes things go a lot smoother, a lot quicker, right? We have a couple days of practice and then boom, we're right in the tournament. We don't have time to be retying, to be changing spools, to be putting on different line or changing applications. We literally pull out another rod to get to work using that specific tool. Now, knowing that these are all tools, when I first started fishing, I was 7, 8, 10 years old. I had one rod, and that was to go fishing at the lake when my brother and dad went, and to go fishing at my grandparents' catch bass. And I used one rod all the time. Didn't always use the same rod because, over the years I'd break it or something, Had no idea who Kevin Van Dam was, who anybody was. I just knew that I wanted to catch fish, and I used one single bait caster. I don't even know what the action was. One rod basically up until I was 21, 2 years old, maybe even 24, when I actually decided to start taking fishing a little more seriously. I had one rod. Then I started to get into fishing. I wanted to see what it was like to go tournament fishing, right? My brother got me into it. He had success early on before I ever started. So I went to my brother, I'm like, what do I need? And I bought 2 combos off of him, 7/6 medium heavy Veritas flipping rod, and I think it was a 7-foot medium heavy, basically a jig flipping rod. I used it for spinner baits. I used it for all kinds of stuff. And I had a cranking rod, a 7-foot medium cranking rod. Those were the 3 combos that I had, all with reels on them. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I went to the lake on a john boat and I just went fishing to try to understand what I was doing. And I fished tournaments like this. And I would just change the baits out on each rod. I didn't understand line diameter size. I didn't understand the baits and how the rod needed to act for each bait. I just didn't have that experience. So as I progressed and as I started to understand these things, the more I started to realize that I needed different rods. I needed to have different tools on deck to make my job easier and more efficient, to be able to get the hook set right, to be able to get the fish in the boat. So then I upgraded, right? I started spending a little bit more money, and I had about 6 combos then. And I used 6 combos for a while because I could make 6 combos work, right? And I was fishing local tournaments, and that was pretty much it. I wasn't doing nothing else. I was just fishing local tournaments, and I could use 6 rods. And that's when I really started to understand you know, what each rod was for, why I needed it, why I needed to have more rods after that. Then of course, I started fishing the Bassmaster Open series, and by the time I started doing those, I had all my bases covered. I had all my rods. I probably had over 15 combos that I had purchased to make sure that I was more than enough efficient in each category and everything was covered. Now, that being said, two things. First is your goals. You know, what do you want to be? Where do you want to be at in fishing in a couple years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? What do you want to be doing with it? Do you want to be the next Jordan Lee, the Bassmaster Classic champion? Or do you want to continue fun fishing? You want to travel? You just want to fish in ponds or lakes and just do your own thing? There's nothing against either one. And you could do both paths with a different amount of combos. The next one is your budget. You know, how much do you have in your budget to spend on extra rods and extra reels? You know, I don't want anybody going out and spending more than what they can afford. You know, that's not why we do this. So you got to be smart about that. You know, if your budget only allows you to have 3 rods, but you want to be the Bassmaster Classic champion, trust me, you can still make it on those 3 rods. You're going to make stuff happen. Things are going to come along. You'll have 4 rods and then you'll have 5 rods. So don't think just because you want to be the next KVD that you got to have all this stuff right away. So settle your budget. If you have it in your budget, great. You can go get it. But if you don't, you know, sit back. That's not going to make you catch more fish. So just understand that. And having more stuff doesn't always equate to more fish. That being said, you got to have your goals in line, your budget in order, and now you start to assess the situation. And for me, I started to realize that this whole video, I can't cover it all. Right? I want to be able to sit here and go through each rod and each combo, and it's made me realize that the best way to do this is I'm going to start a little series. You know, I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's going to be about selecting the right rods, the right reels, pairing them up for certain situations, so you guys have more of a, you know, streamlined way and approach to understanding things better, because really that's the third and most important part of it all. You got to have your goals, you got to have your budget, but understanding what you're purchasing, what you're getting, why you're getting it, so important. So important. It took me a long time to really understand these things, you know, because it takes experience. It takes being out there, feeling the rods. What did the rods do? Why did they do that? How did I lose that fish? All this starts to come into a factor the more you do it. So for me, if I would have had 50 rods at the beginning, I still wouldn't have made the right decisions. So I want to educate you guys on the setups that I use, you know, the setups that I go out there in the elite tournaments and I'm fishing with, the actions that I use, the line that I use with it, the reels that I use. So that way, when you're in the store and you're looking at something going, I wonder if this is right for a shaky head, I wonder if this is right for spinnerbait, you're gonna know exactly what a good baseline would be, and I'm gonna explain to you why you should have that. So this video is really the introduction into all the different rod combos and really how many do you need. And that's the answer lies with you guys. You know, there's no right or wrong answer to how many combos you should or shouldn't have. Like I said, it's kind of irrelevant, and I want to guide you guys into knowing the right characteristics of what you're picking out, why you're picking it out, how it's going to help you catch more fish, get better hookups, and land those fish, fighting the fish back to the boat. Why all those things are important when you're finding a rod, finding the right components in that rod. So that's really what I want to explain to you guys, and I want to dive into that. Obviously, we're not going to do it all in one video, so I'm going to break that up into multiple videos. If you guys want to see something done first, a specific technique, if you like spinnerbaiting, chatterbaiting, worming, crankbaiting, comment below, let me know. And if you like the video, please subscribe. You know, we're trying to grow the channel and keep providing good content for you guys. Once again, thank you for watching.